Hi there, my name is Inventive Harvest. I'm doing a video response to Kane B. Now, he's done all these great videos. Like, Kane B really kind of makes you think when he talks in his videos, and they're always fun to watch. His last one was really great, called The Paradox of Fiction. It was 2 videos. I'm going to respond to them in this video, give some notes and some thoughts, and try to resolve this paradox. Now, I'm sure Kane B hasn't seen my videos before. I don't think he knows who I am, so I don't have a whole lot of viewers or anything like that, but my name's Inventive Harvest, and I at least describe myself as an economist. I have a degree in that kind of stuff, and that'll come up a little bit here. And I'm also, as far as like the philosophy thing, is a hard Lakatoshian. I found this book while I was in school called Proofs and Refutations by Imre Lakatosh, and that's what let me keep my sanity throughout all the classes, the courses in the critical thinking. So Lakatosh is a philosopher, and he's known mostly in like the philosophy of science courses as the guy between Popper and Kuhn. Where Popper was saying that if a theory is falsified, then we have to just get rid of it. Lakatosh says that we have this web of beliefs, and when we're always learning more information, there's a good chance that new information can contradict something in our web of beliefs. That's why it's new information. If it fit right in, then it wouldn't be new. So these contradictions are inevitable. And in the book Proofs and Refutations, he does this to math and by extension logic after he does it to science. So kind of what I do is I'll take his theory all the way into what soft Lakatoshians would say are pins in a web of belief. Things like the law of non-contradiction, right? I think that this is also susceptible to Lakatoshian contradiction, inevitable contradiction. So that, in short, makes me a dialetheist. I don't even know how to say it. I watched some of the KBs about the dialetheist. I've been having these conversations with Hythloday about the law of non-contradiction, and so yeah, that word seems to fit what I've been saying pretty well. So nice to meet you. And so the paradox of fiction, as Kane B describes it, he describes it in these 3 statements. 1, for an emotional response to be rational, we must believe the thing being responded to exists. 2, we have rational emotional responses to fictional things. And 3, we do not believe that fictional things exist. So, as Kane B points out, each of these things are individually plausible. They have some verisimilitude or truthiness, but when taken all together, they lack validity. There's some obvious contradictions there. Additionally, there's a problem of empty terms can be a problem with these fictional things. For example, this statement, all unicorns are animals, logically entails and implies that some animals are unicorns, which would imply that unicorns exist, which is unjustified. So the question is, are emotional reactions to fiction irrational? Right? That's kind of to short up the paradox. Now, as an economist, I have some pretty strong interest in the word rational. Now, we know Kane B doesn't define the word rational in these videos, but he does use it a lot, which is fine. He's made a lot of videos, and there's no need to restate the definition in each video that he uses the word. Now, he does say a couple things in this video regarding the definition of rational. He says rational is a cognitive process, and he also says Rational is about beliefs and inferences between those beliefs. But I needed a bit more clarity, so I did some research. And he gives the definition of rational in a video called Dialechism 3A. So nice. In that video, he states, if evidence and argument lead to a theory, then it is rational to believe in that theory. But before he gives that definition, he makes a disclaimer of sorts. And he says, rational is context dependent, and as such, a definition cannot be fully precise. And I think Lakatos provides a good explanation of this. Any solid, well-defined definition of rational, a set of necessary and sufficient conditions, so that we can demarcate what is exactly rational and what is not rational, right? Any very specific definition like that will lead to exceptions that contradict the definition. For example, Kane B's definition, rational is when belief in a theory is based on reasoning and evidence, falls short when confirmation bias is examined. Now, us economists have a different definition of rational. Now, of course, this doesn't escape from the Lakatosian thing. There are still exceptions that contradict our definition, and I'm not going to go into all those here. That's just something else. But the difference in the two definitions is certainly worth noting, because kind of in the reason and evidence thing, it wants to be objective. It wants to remove emotions. Where economists will define rational as having self-interested preferences that can be ordered. After all, our beliefs are chosen from a set of possible beliefs. So it's based on individual preferences. We could, for example, one could prefer consistency over completeness, or like me, could prefer completeness over consistency. There's trade-offs there as to what you want to choose. Now, in the video, Kane B says that I think he disagrees with this, because he says that preferring chocolate ice cream to vanilla ice cream is non-rational. Rationality doesn't apply to preferences. Now, as an economist, with the economics definition, I would say that preferring one thing over another is rational. What is irrational is when the ordering is not preserved. If I preferred chocolate ice cream over strawberry ice cream, and I preferred strawberry ice cream over vanilla ice cream, and I preferred vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream, then we couldn't order it. It wouldn't be, we'd have irrationality by the definition. Or even if I preferred chocolate ice cream over strawberry ice cream, and I preferred strawberry ice cream over chocolate ice cream, we couldn't order it, right? It would be non-transitive. So as such, I believe that emotions are at the core of rationality and cannot be excluded from it. After all, thoughts and emotions are hard to separate. If I make the statement 2 + 2 = 5, then you have an emotional response to that. You feel that statement is fucking ridiculous, which is then traded into your mind as some words. Well, that's just wrong. But that the feeling thought comes first, the response. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, but, take some time, pay attention to what happens in your mind here when I say this. The Daleks are sexually attracted to Doctor Who. Did you feel it before you thought it? Well, In the end of the videos, Kane asks, if is it really so bad if our emotional responses are rational? Do we need to be rational all the time? Now, as a dialtheist, I would, of course, rephrase this as, it isn't irrational to be irrational. But what we should do here is, make a substitution in the paradox of fiction such that we replace rational with a better word. Something that just fits better, isn't so complicated. Now, I believe that pretty much everyone on YouTube that's doing these philosophical conversations knows the expression batshit. And batshit doesn't need a list of necessary and sufficient conditions to define it. So we can replace irrational in the argument with batshit and without loss of validity, or in this case, loss of invalidity. One, having an emotional response to things that don't exist is totally batshit. For example, if you knew the monster in the closet wasn't real, then it would be batshit to be afraid of it. Two, it's not batshit to have an emotional response to fictional things. For example, like Kane B's got this great video where there's these 9 episodes of Doctor Who that were lost, that were found, and he's just like super excited about it. And I certainly wouldn't describe Kane B as like your batshit kind of guy. He's highly trained in philosophy, has a good sense of logic and the different types of logic and pluralism, and is a very good reasoner. So, I don't think that this liking Doctor Who is a batshit thing to do. Now, 3, we do not believe fictional things exist. That one doesn't have rational in it, so it didn't change. But as Kane B points out, if we did believe rational things exist, we would try and dodge the bullets when we're watching a James Bond movie, so that we didn't get hit. Now, a lot of the theories and objections that Kane B discusses are also about the word exist. Now, we've got this hangout that we do on Sundays called Illusions Exist that Piro runs on YouTube on Sundays. And in there, as most philosophy discussions, what exists in existence and how to describe it has become a debatable topic. Now, fiction does exist. Movies are fictions, and I saw one the other day. Now, characters exist. If they did not exist, then movies could not have characters in them. The characters are not physical. They exist in some Platonic thought space. Now, so this means that mathematics and the Cthulhu monster, they all live together. Plato's kind of wrong in describing the demiurge. Anything can happen in the Platonic thought space, the horrible and the orderly. So, we don't care about fictions because they relate to reality. We care about fictions because they relate to ourselves. Fiction lets us share dreams, building on each other's fantasies. When we trade ideas, value is created, just as in any other trade. It's created right out of thin air, like magic. Existence out of nothingness. The mathematical proof of this is in my video called Inventive BS number 2, for further research or whatnot for backing that up. But for example, Eastman and Laird once thought, what if the radioactive goo that turned Matt Murdock into Daredevil continued its journey down the street into the sewers and landed on some turtles? Would they not, of course, become ninjas? And this made a lot of money for them. They made money playing with non-existent radioactive goo. Now, consider this even further, right? With Marvel's What If series. In this, ideas are explored as if, like, What if Daredevil killed the Kingpin? And what if Red Skull won World War II? And what if Thanos collected all the Infinity Gems? As such, in the Platonic thought space, Daredevil both killed the Kingpin and did not kill the Kingpin. There's no difference between feeling about a fiction and a fiction within a fiction. Do we care less for the event in Inception, even though it's a dream within a dream within a dream? No, it was an awesome movie. We don't really care how well the fiction maps to physical existence. Watching the docudrama The Imitation Game isn't as engaging for some as watching Power Rangers. What we care about is how the fiction relates to ourselves. Kane B wishes he could shoot a bow like Legolas. I wish I could fly like Superman. And when we don't get the relatability we're looking for in a story, we get angry. This is why people just hate Jar Jar Binks. They just... And so, now, I hear the objection that you would say to this, right? That there are characters in fictions that do things that we would not do. We call this rooting for the bad guy. We still relate to them even though they do things we don't do. But it's like asking, what would I do if I were in Lex Luthor's shoes? What would I do if I had Superman's power? What would I do if I were like Joffrey and I just craved power beyond all else? What can I learn about myself from watching the others? Does the other need to exist in order for me to respect them enough to learn their philosophy? After all, aren't there real writers behind each of these villains? And are we not their secret accomplices? When we relate to a villain, we try them on for size. And the parts of their personality that fit well, we keep. So I exist, and if something relates to me, then it relates to something that exists, even if it does not itself exist. So let's do another substitution in the paradox of fiction, and replace it with relatability instead of existence, right? Now, when we do this, it's going to make the changes in the statements that have that word in it. One has that word in it. Having an emotional response to things that we don't relate to is totally batshit. Now, that kind of seems true, but only for infants. As we learn morality, we learn to respect the other. The more they do not relate to you, the more you can learn from them. If they were exactly like you, there would be nothing that you could learn from them. 2, it is not bad shit to have emotional responses to fictional things. Now, that one wasn't changed in the substitution. It still has a high degree of verisimilitude or truthiness. 3, we do not believe fictional things relate to us. Now, when we make that substitution, it seems just flat out false, right? Wrong. We do believe that fictional things relate to us, and we're right, they do. We can even partake in fictions in real existence. We can go to Disneyland and escape reality. We can play video games and chess. I forgot the Superman action figure. I was supposed to hold up the Superman action figure and be like, look, it's in my hand. Superman isn't real, but this action figure in my hand, you can see it. So I'm making a fiction. It's useful. Because I forgot to bring the figure with me, and I'm too far in this video to stop. So, while Superman doesn't exist, at least in physical reality, he exists in maybe the platonic space, along with the things he stands for: truth, justice, and helping out other people. And words themselves don't physically exist. Words are constructs in the platonic thought space that we built. We built the thought space, we built words. We built fictions. And they're there in the thought space. Should we not have emotional reactions to words? When we make statements about physical existence, they're really neither true nor false, but rather they're approximations of what we believe reality to be. So any statement is in some ways a fiction, as truth doesn't come out of my mouth, like reality doesn't come out of my mouth. It's just an approximation of what I believe is the words that come out of my mouth. Words to spell, creating magic, to spell, to cast a spell. It's existence out of nothingness. So look at the stage around you. Is it real, or are all the props around you put there by someone, perhaps yourself, on purpose to round out the play? Fork began as an idea, not a fiction. The cell phones that we use were inspired by Star Trek communicators. The fact that the line between physical reality and fiction is wavy is what allows us to make the world a better place. There is no paradox of fiction.